So far on the PC Engine, we've seen F1 racing games where you can just race one car, and then there was Final Lap Twin where you could race two cars head-to-head. But what if there was a game where you could race three cars? F1 Triple Battle adds that feature like a shaving razor company adding an extra blade. F1 Triple Battle was developed and published by Human Entertainment, whose star was on the rise at the time. Fire Pro Wrestling was becoming a big deal for them, but the other genre that they were going to lean into was F1 racing. Human winds up releasing 9 F1 games in their series, so it's a well they go back to a lot. F1 Triple Battle is their second F1 game. They had released Nakajima Satoru F1 Hero for the Famicom almost exactly 1 year before this. F1 Triple Battle shares a lot of the same design decisions, so it really feels like a continuation of the series, even if it doesn't share the name. Human's F1 games tend toward a simulationist approach, basically making it as accurate as possible for the hardware at the time. But that also makes them almost unapproachable. The kind of thing where you have to put in several hours of practice before you aren't coming in dead last. So needless to say, I wasn't doing especially well with the racing here. This is definitely a case where the difficulty is an intended part of the game design. There are 16 F1 tracks represented here, ones that you'll be familiar with if you've played other F1 games. You have your choice of just driving the track, taking part in the F1 season, or engaging in some competition against friends or the computer. In any of these modes, you have the ability to tune your car before you race. Well, not really tune. The only things that affect performance are the choice of tires and engine. For the engines, there's 4 levels and each level has 4 options. In the F1 season, you start with only the weakest engines available and gradually unlock the rest of the tiers. But for everyone else, you can select whatever engine you like, and then if there are other drivers in that event, they can pick an engine that's on the same tier as you. The other options are control schemes, and these matter a lot more than you might realize. For steering, you have IAS, Smooth 1, 2, and 3, and Step. In F1 Triple Battle, if you turn too hard while going too fast, then your car spins out. But the boundaries here tend to be fuzzy. While you can hear the tires squeal when you're pushing the edge, your car transitions from in control to out of control so quickly that you might not hear it. You'll accelerate right through that transition point before the sound has a chance to play. To help you learn how to drive, there's IAS steering. IAS stands for... actually the manual doesn't say what it stands for. It must be something automated steering, because this mode won't let the car spin out. It just won't let you turn hard enough to do that. Which means if you hit a curve too fast, you're going right off the track and into one of the human signs. For the smooth steering options, you press left or right, and as long as you're holding down the button, it's like you're turning the wheel in that direction. The car doesn't straighten out on its own, so you have to make those adjustments yourself. The step steering option divides the steering into discrete positions, and every time you tap on the controller, it'll turn the car one step in that direction. I don't know who'd want that, but it's there for those weirdos. For the gearbox, it's easy. You have your choice between automatic and 5-speed. You tap up and down to change your gears as you're driving. And even if you choose automatic, you have to tap down once to move from neutral to first gear. Otherwise, you'll just stay at the starting line revving your engine. The gearbox also plays a pretty significant role, since to do well in F1 Triple Battle, you really have to learn what speeds you can take the corners. And to do that effectively, you'll need to use the manual transmission. The automatic will respond to your braking, but manually downshifting gives you better control over your speed. Of course, the most important choice is your car's color, and there's a lot of options available for you here if you don't want your car to look like a cigarette box. If you're participating in the F1 season, then you do all 16 tracks in order. You first get an opportunity for free practice, where you drive the track 5 times and it's empty. Then you do the qualifying run, where you drive the track 5 times and it's empty. And then finally, you can actually race against a full field of cars. Well, assuming you qualified in the top 8 position. Otherwise, you do the qualifying laps again. Yeah, so I never managed to qualify for one of the big races. Of course, what you're really here for, the big reason to buy F1 Triple Battle, was the Triple Battle. 3 players, head-to-head at once. Yeah, your game window's kind of small, but somehow it plays smoothly. Not bad for an 8-bit console. You'll also notice that there's some really good dynamic rendering of the curves, though not quite as good as we've seen. However, F1 Triple Battle gets some bonus points for having different elevations. The races will sometimes take you up and down hill, though no jumping at the top, unfortunately. F1 Triple Battle seems to have been pretty well received in Japan. I found one person who called it the second best F1 game on the PC Engine. Don't worry, we haven't seen their pick for favorite yet. I also found a lot of people praising the realistic modeling of the car, though I think it's important to keep it in perspective that it was realistic for the time. My own feeling is that F1 Triple Battle is one of those games that falls into the unfortunate situation where it was very impressive at the time, but it didn't do anything distinctive enough that it retains any of those strengths years later. It becomes a neat historical artifact, but probably not something that you want to go back and play. It is very much an artifact of its time. That's not a bad thing. If you want to play any racing game from this period, it's a lot more likely that you'll want to go with something with a more relaxed sensibility. In 1989, F1 Triple Battle was technologically impressive, and one of the best F1 racing games you could buy. Decades later, and it's faded into the background.